It's Thursday with Jamila. She won't let me do that theme song. Thursdays with Jamila. No? Okay. Glad.
We're working on that. And we're gonna get a real one. We'll get
I want a real theme song.
We're gonna work on that. We gotta lay the vocals. You were at the studio recently. I saw you.
I wasn't at the studio recently, guys. Hey, it's just tag me in that video.
Word. Hi, Grandma. You were at the studio recently.
I was laying tracks for the Lord.
At the studio. Where you were.
Jamila's out here giving everybody a concert, selling out arenas and doing everybody's worship conference.
That's just her imagination.
Running away with me.
I don't have no concerts. Okay.
Let me tell y'all, she about to go on this world tour at the end of the summer. Y'all need to tune in. Speaking it into existence.
World tour at the end of the summer. That means by August. It's June.
Right? We're gonna get this together real quick. We're gonna sell out all arenas.
Okay.
Hi, Iris.
Hi.
Talking to all your people.
I know. You gotta say hi. So, Shar's coming to make sure that I get it together tonight because she's been giving me my pointers about the fact that I gotta do better on my social media. Y'all try. I feel like I do a good job on social media.
Does she really, guys?
I think. Okay. I feel like somebody should give me a thumbs up. I think
yes.
do
Let's
great.
heart Jamila up if she does an amazing job on social media, because she does. I mean, she has like full-fledged like photography and everything, which is perfect. I just need you guys to be more engaged. I need to know if you guys are going to be supporting. You need to support, share, like, and love, okay? Because y'all can't be out here soaking up all the content and not sharing, okay? See, look at those hearts. I love it. Now go share this video right now.
Please.
And also, if they can't watch, we are on blessbeats.com. You can listen to the show right now.
You can, and make sure that it's a Z and not an S.
Yes, Bless Beats with a Z. BLESSED as in dog. BEATZ.com.
Not .org, .net, it's .com. Make sure you get it. All right. Okay, so tonight. Oh, I just got a text, y'all. My mommy just landed here.
Mommy's here.
My mommy is here, you guys. And let me tell you, you have to know that I love what I do to not be at the airport picking my mommy up at this very moment. I love what I do. This is why I come on and enjoy our time together, because I feel like this is the time where we get to connect as a tribe, we get to share life, we get to talk about life. And tonight we are having a life chat. Okay? I want to talk about something that I think we need to talk about in the real raw form. Like, I don't want to talk about it and glaze over it or give this. Like, I don't want to talk about it in a way that it's not applicable. So tonight we're gonna have a chat about hope.
Ooh.
We're having a hope chat.
Like, I hope for a puppy, or I hope I can get a man, or I hope I can get a really good parking spot.
I hope. A hope is a hope is a hope. But here's the thing. Because we spent a good amount of time during Mental Health Awareness Month. Okay? And we had some chats about managing our expectations. Okay? Your expectations are what set your hopes in motion. And some of the times we don't really talk about that piece of it. So we have these hopes, but we don't have benchmarks for them. We don't have anything to measure the hope. So it's just like this vague pie in the sky. And we're like, I hope.
So we're aimlessly hoping, and then blaming
God and everybody else when it's not achieved.
Ooh.
Because what is the hope anchored in? What is the foundation of hope? And how are you measuring the success of it?
I feel like a lot. I be talking and telling my secrets. A lot of the times I will say that if I say I'm hoping for something or having faith for something or praying for something, it's mainly because I'm in a certain situation and I want to get out of it. I'm only hoping for an escape, not for a solution.
So are we using hope as the genie?
Yes.
Okay.
We're using hope as a life rafter. Like, the Titanic is going down. We're sinking. The ship is going down.
So we're using hope in the capacity of a lifesaver instead of a lifestyle. So
Yes.
it's not something that we are strategic about. We don't grow roots around it. We don't cultivate it. We just pull it off the shelf and dust it off when we feel like we need it.
Yeah, and then throw it away when you don't.
When do you never need to hope? Can we think about that? Like, is there ever a period in your life when you don't need to hope?
Oh, that's such a good
Is it? Because if we think about that, I want to give you the context in which I'm going to discuss hope tonight. So when I was thinking about it, and I'm calling tonight coping mechanisms. Because a lot of us, we have coping mechanisms, but we're coping, and coping is rooted in what we hope the outcome will be. So why don't we start with the hope and use hope as the field? Now let me explain what I mean in further explanation. Okay, so hope is this big thing. It's this thing we want to latch to. It's this thing that we want to reap the benefits of. But how many of us have hope with benchmarks and mile markers and use it as a gradual growing process so that our hope can be increased, right? In the church phase, we always hear what? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Amen. What is the substance, though? If hope is the substance, what makes up the substance?
The ingredients for it?
What is it? On the back of the label, when they tell you what's in the bottle, what is making up the contents of the hope as the substance?
Belief.
We hope.
But if I feel like hope is the substance. Oh,
So
you said hope
in
is
itself.
the substance.
We're saying hope.
Hope
what
in
makes
itself
up-
is the main ingredient.
What is hope? As an ingredient, what is hope?
I can tell you what Webster Dictionary.
Okay, tell me what Webster says.
Okay.
And I want somebody online to tell me what are you defining
So
hope as?
Webster defines hope as to cherish. So it's a verb. It's to cherish a desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or be true.
So let's
So
break
is
that
it
down.
an imagination? Is it okay? So then hope has to be imagination because you have to imagine something to be something before
Thank
it
you.
becomes something.
I wanted you to get there. And what is imagination? What does that look like? To the brain, to the
Guys,
mind.
She is stretching us today.
I'm stretching you because I'm tired of us not getting to the root of it. So we say our hope has failed us. Has it? Or have we misdefined what hope is? So think about it. Let's say where we are.
Okay.
You said that hope is imagination.
Yes.
What is imagination? What's the root of it? Image.
Image. Yeah.
Image is a picture.
Yes.
Image is the vision.
Yes.
Okay.
So that means that your vision is off, and so you have the wrong picture. So you're hoping for the wrong thing because you're seeing the wrong thing and you're wanting a different result. And a lot of the time, I get it. Okay, so then a lot of the times we end up getting a result for something that we actually are seeing versus what we think we are seeing. Look at this.
See, we're
This
gonna
is
walk
why I'm
through
right
it
there.
tonight. This is why
Y'all,
we're gonna walk
these-
through it tonight.
Hold up.
So we're talking about the picture, the image, the vision. Okay.
So we're going back to the ingredients.
We're going back to the content. What is the foundation of the hope? What is the substance? Okay, so tonight we're saying, all right, so my substance is the imagination, is the vision.
Yes.
The vision is the driver of where you're going to go. You have a vision, you know where you're going. Just like if you have a map, you can get to the destination.
Yes.
GPS is governed by the map. It's governed by the picture. It's never lost as long as it has the address. So you can go to the destination when you know where you're going. You don't know where you're going when you lack the vision.
And a lot of the times we don't know where we're going because we don't already see what is established before us because you can't have a GPS without an already set geographical pinpoint. Like you can't GPS something that's not already there. And a lot of the times when it comes to faith and hope and desire, we are imagining for something that isn't already there and not using that as a principle for what we want to hope on. So a lot of the time we're wishful thinking and calling it hope, and it's really not hope, it's just wishful thought.
Wishful thought process. And going back to GPS, when you pull up the address that you want to go to and you put it in the phone or whatever device you're using, it has to pinpoint where you are, right?
Oh, yeah.
So to accurately get you from here to there, it has to point where you are. Part of the reason why we feel like our hope is failing is because we're not being honest about where we are. You're not over there. You're right here. And if you really want to get to point B, you got to be honest about point A.
So then I'm going to say this. Okay, so I say for my generation, we're in the same. We're technically, I'm the end of the tip of the millennial, and you're the other end of the tip of being a millennial. So we get to kind of see life in two different perspectives while we're in the same position, which I want to talk about that too, the vantage points of hope. We're going to get to that in a little bit too. But I feel like this part of the generation that we're in doesn't get to, there's no hope for this generation, which is why we live so recklessly, which means I feel like even though we're all about transparency and let's be transparent and let's be honest, and we also live in a series of denial too.
Or is it denial, or is it a false identity? A false sense of identity.
But for you to have, well, yeah, then it is a false sense.
Well,
are they not two in the same though?
Well, maybe that wasn't the way I wanted to say it. Maybe it's, okay, sorry guys, I close my eyes when I'm trying to visualize my thoughts.
Girl,
I'm not weird.
Think it through.
Okay,
for those that are listening to us on blessbeats.com, blessbeats.com.
I have to see it.
Just, she's over here really squinting really hard.
I just gotta get it
she's
out.
trying to hope and imagine.
It's my vision.
She's gonna get her vision.
My vision. So here's the thing. So when I say that, I mean, okay, so we live in an era where being authentically you is never really what is actually presented.
No, it's
okay. It's filtered.
Yeah.
It's an air of perfection, right? And so if we could allow ourselves to see ourselves for real, without all the stuff, would we still be hopeless? If we really were brave enough to look at who we are for real, be honest about the point A so that we can get to point B, will we still be hopeless? Or is it because we feel like we've got to put on to one, even be viewed as worthy or accepted or included or whatever? Yeah. So then we're like, the part of me that feels hopeless is the part of me that I don't get to reveal.
Yeah.
But on the outside, I look like I'm winning. But the part of me that's yet to be revealed is hopeless.
Jamila, I get it. So we identify the problem, but there are a lot of people out there who are like, oh, that's great. Okay, yeah, I need to identify who I am. How?
Okay, so one of the things that I always tell people is pull out a piece of paper. Y'all know Jamila's going to tell you get your journal.
Get your journal. I got mine.
Okay, and at the top of it, put who am I?
Okay.
And write without reservation all the things that you feel you are.
Okay.
Then go strike through everything that is defined by what you do. Strike through all of that. Look at the list that remains. Because a lot of us, it's not that we don't know who we are, but we've labeled it with what we do. And then go back through it and then check out all the things that you are for somebody else.
Or what someone else has called you.
Or what someone else has called you. Take off, because that's then we remove the title, right? And we're starting to slim it down. We're starting to get naked before ourselves. And at the core of it, you can say, you know what? Because most of the times if I say, who are you? You're gonna say, hi, my name is Charmaine. I work here. I went to school here. This is my favorite hangout spot. None of it said, hi, I'm Charmaine. I have a heart of gold. I like to maybe just walk through the park. I enjoy the scenery. I like to sketch. My downtime, I like to I'm a creative. Or like, that's not the first thing that comes. We have trained ourselves to say what we do because we want to be affirmed in those things. So who you are is still like, hey, well, when you get to me, I'll be right here.
I feel like a lot of the time we don't ever get to that, which is why we don't see the value within ourselves. And I also think that you have to see a value within what you're who you're hoping for before you can hope for what you want. So like a lot of times we miss hope because we maybe hope or faith too little based off of how we value ourselves.
How you see yourself? Yeah.
So you can't see where you're going and the vision that you have for yourself because you don't feel like maybe what I want or I desire, maybe it's too big for who I am.
Yeah. But do you know children are the best examples?
God.
Because you'll say, what do you want to do? Who are you? And they are bold and audacious with their response. And look at you like how you better not say that it's not true. Because this is true.
Yeah.
I can do this. If we could, I think that's why God says that childlike faith. That I can do this. And then remembering it's not what I have to do in my own strength.
Yeah.
See, there's that thing about that substance, that image. Who do you think is planting the imagination and the vision within you?
Yeah.
Who do you think is putting that before you repeatedly and then giving it to you in a way that you can actually put it into action? Like, y'all know my psychology stuff, I'm always going to do it. And they'll tell you, okay, think of a something and then close your eyes. You're going to then envision it. It's going to paint a picture, right? And so this is why it's important. Again, I told you guys, you got to mind your thoughts. What are you minding your thoughts on? Because you're painting the picture. You have the vision. And then when you have a hope that you can't envision, that's partially why we feel like it's failing. Because we don't even have the courage to envision it. So we don't give our mind something to pursue after. I want to say this to you guys, and this is not me harping or any of the sort, but the thing that I find to be the most heartbreaking is when people have been crushed under the weight of life and all these expectations and failed and unmet expectations. Now you live in the regret of what you didn't see. And now you won't even give yourself the freedom to hope for something more than what you've seen. What you've seen maybe fail. What you've seen maybe not come together. So the idea that something good can come of this, we won't even give our heart the opportunity to envision.
That's what I was
because
going to
it's like, I've endured so much. I don't want my heart to risk hope anymore.
Oh my God.
I don't want my heart to risk hope anymore because it's still healing from the failed expectations. And so if I give my heart the room and the freedom to hope again, then I'm going to have to heal that failed expectation. So I don't want to subject my heart to that. No, thank you. I'd rather just stay small. I'd rather not even grasp the vision because it's hard to get a vision out of your mind when it's there.
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to close my eyes.
Yeah.
No thanks.
I think, what is so crazy about you saying that is, I was gonna say, a lot of the times we end up hoping for what we think we're supposed to hope for, like based off of the past experiences that we have. Like I know a lot of times I have to battle with that idea of what do I really want based off of the vision that I see for myself. And not until recently was my vision like murky and blurry based off of the circumstances I had been through and all of the failed expectations that I had for myself. And I'm young, but in my mind, I'm like, I've missed so many different opportunities. I add up all the opportunities and things that I feel like I've missed or the circumstances that I've been through rather than count up all the time that I have to actually accomplish the faith that the thing that I'm faithing for.
I want to go back to one of the pieces that you said. Because you're talking about having to deal with the failure and sitting in the failure. And I want to go back to that because we rush past the feeling that comes with the failure and the obscurity, right? Two things. Be bold enough to sit in the emotions of the failure. Be bold enough to feel it. Not that you park and you plant there, but you gotta be brave enough to feel it because that is going to be fuel. Think about it. Think about the person who is a professional in any way. That failure gives them a new baseline for their next success, right?
Yeah.
Because they gather all that came with that failure and it gives them a different perspective, one, and then they're fueled by, now that I know that this possibility is on the table, because that's typically why we fail,
Yeah.
because we didn't consider all the options, so we get sucker punched, right? But we failed, but now I have another experience that will help me when I go after it again. I have something else to consider. Okay, so now what's the contingency plan for that so that doesn't happen again? It's not always avoiding it because we don't want to be hurt again, but what about now you know?
It allows you to reassess.
And it exposes the people that should be in your life, the places you should have nothing to do with, and it exposes where you are personally.
And it also where you are personally and how your perspective on it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we go for something and we have, a lot of the times we go for the things that we want, but we have a totally different perspective on it. Like we approach it like, if I were to obtain this, this would do this for me, versus this would elevate me closer
Who
to
will
where
I
my purpose
become?
is.
Thank you. That's part of why I feel like our hopes get crushed. Because we're like, when I do this, I'm gonna gain this on the backside of it instead of I'll become this because of it. So sometimes we hope for things for status. We hope for things that are external. But what about hoping for the thing that's gonna help you become?
Okay, but what about the person who hopes for the thing not for status, or they choose not to hope for a thing because they know it'll elevate them to a certain place? That has always been my biggest thing, and that is something that I personally am working on, and I'm literally allowing God to take the fear away of it, because I used to have the biggest hope and desire for something, but then it wasn't even necessarily that I went for it and it failed. It was I got afraid of where I was going and who I could become. And I was I just want to be in the background.
Did you track the seed of
well,
the
now
fear?
I found it now.
Okay.
And now I'm doing all that, that work. But like, there are some people out there who they want something, but then there's the fear because they have the vision and they actually saw where the end goal was. But then the closer they got to it and the more it started manifesting itself, because if you're doing things the right way, you will see it fruit. And once they started seeing the fruit, instead of letting the fruit go, they chopped down the tree and was like, nah, I can't do it.
Okay, can I speak to you? And when I say you, I'm talking to everybody that resonates with that point. Let me just affirm you that you are worth the fruit that comes with your vision. Otherwise, the vision would have been assigned to somebody else. What you envision and what has been impregnated in your spirit is for you, and you are worth it because you are His. He gave it to you specifically because you have the unique capabilities to not only grow it, magnify it, but then become an influencer to the people that need that fruit. Okay? And I want to go back to the part where you talked about the obscurity piece. And I'm saying this, and I'm using a lot of kind of like symbolisms that I think will make sense.
Yeah, no.
But when it's obscure, that means you can't see it. So when we are planted, what's happening can't be seen. But there's a lot happening. And so you've got to trust that even in the underground phases, that you're being cultivated, that you're being groomed, that everything that's coming above ground, we've got to make sure you've got a good root system. And I feel like a lot of the reason why our generation gets frustrated in the process is because we have not been conditioned to have patience with the process. We are in a society where everything is easily accessible and I can have it in under 60 seconds. But purpose takes time. Your dreams take time. They are not coming to you in 60 seconds. We have got to diminish that logic, and you have to have grace and patience with yourself. A lot of us, we stop hoping for it because it's taking too long. And it's like, okay, but anything that's of quality takes time. So hope for it and then ask God to grace you with the endurance for the process associated with it.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the missing links. So we're talking about coping mechanisms, right? A prayer life is essential because this is where, and I want to encourage you guys to really pray in a way that makes sense to you and don't feel like you have to have this like standard approach to prayer to be heard.
Silent room, silent shutters, dark.
It's
eyes
not
completely
that.
closed.
Sincerity. If you're going to God and saying, I said this to somebody recently. I said, it's not that I don't believe in it, and it's not that I won't do it. I'm just asking God for help. I said, I'll do it. I'm just asking you for help. I believe in the thing that you gave to me, but I'm asking you for help because I'm honest enough to say that sometimes that process wears me down. I get gut punched, and there's an expectation that I'm still supposed to be able to present something that is a little bit of a challenge. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a motivator by default, but sometimes I'm feeling a little undermotivated. I'm feeling a little like, I don't know if I can get through it, right? And so I said, God, if you would just help me with it, if you would just grace me with a little bit more endurance and strength in this period, in this process, because this is why I'm saying the benchmarkers of hope. So when you achieve one thing, once you have one success under the belt, the hope and the expectation increase, right? Because now you've seen a reward. You've seen what your resilience will produce because you didn't give up. So now my hope is increasing. Now my faith is increasing. Now I'll go to the next thing because you're showing me that you have graced me for this. It's not enough for Jamila to tell me that on Thursday. I got to see it translate in my personal life. I've got to understand how this is going to get me from what A to B. But the sincerity, one of your greatest hoping mechanisms is a prayer life. And please don't feel like it has to be for a certain amount of time, or it has to be like, it could be, Jesus, it's me, need you, for real, because I want to make it to heaven. Right? And people are like, Jamila, that's real casual. No, sometimes I talk to Jesus and I'm like, my salvation is being tested. And I really want to make it in.
I feel like that's like a continuous thing, though.
Like, I tell people you're testing my salvation. Like, I tell people you're testing
I don't even think
salvation.
it's people.
Well, whoever's working through the people.
Right?
You're testing. You are testing my salvation, and I want to make it in. And so, Jesus, okay, you're going to have to help me. And that'll be my conversation with Jesus. In the car. Pick me.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
How do you go through those phases where, like, how do you rebound from those phases where maybe you hit a benchmark? So for the people that have hit that one benchmark and that one little level of, I needed to achieve this, they hit it. But then they go into the next season and they think they're going to approach the season the same way that they did the last season.
Okay. So let me say this. One success does not guarantee the next. So you have to treat each phase differently, carefully, and you have to condition properly. Okay? So if we're increasing in expectation, you have to be honest and say you're going to be increased in testing and proving. Because that was at this level. If the goal is to get to this level and stay there, then don't do nothing else. But if you're aiming to get to the next thing, we've got to be mature enough and realize it's going to come with a greater magnitude of testing and proving. Because at this point, think about it this way. When you increase in platform and influence, those are more lives that you're going to be influencing over.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's not going to come with more proving and testing? And please be prepared to be target practice for the people who don't want to see you win. Because those are the things that we don't talk about. We always just say, just go higher, go higher, go higher. But we don't tell people, okay, and with that, there's some conditioning. You've got to be fortified for that. To run a 100 is not the same as running a 400. So you've got to condition for that. And give yourself grace as if you're starting over. Because
Okay, can you talk about giving yourself grace?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
When I say give yourself grace, we've got to be realistic about where we're going, right?
Okay.
And then remember that you've never done that before. So grace in a way that makes sense. A child who is crawling has never walked before. So when they take one step, you're going to praise them, but you're going to keep encouraging them. And when they fall, you don't shame them.
Yeah.
You say, get up. Remember, you can do this because you took one step. So I believe you can take two. And there's grace for the fall.
Yeah.
Not that you sit and sulk in it, but you have to remember you got here so you can continue from here.
Yeah.
But be patient with the fact that this is new for you. You've got to learn how to do it. And what I think we assume is when we get there, we come with it with all of the lessons under our belt and then we get immediate execution. No, you have to learn this level. You have to perfect this level, and you can only do that with time. And we don't like the element of time.
No.
We're like, no, I'm here. So I want all the stuff that comes with this right now.
Because it's like when you're in the middle of it. Okay, so I'm hoping for it and I want it. 3 weeks go by. I'm good. 4 weeks go by. I'm good. 5 months go by. I'm all right. 8 months go by. A year and a half goes by, and you sitting over here going, Lord, and then you try to adjust your hope. Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
When I'm like, okay, Lord,
You
I'm not
downgrade.
going to hope for this, but I'm going to hope for this with the contingency of this. So if I do this, can you give me this? Because this is what I make some adjustments, so it's not too big.
But it's saying you're not God enough.
What if you're not?
But you're saying to God, you're not God enough. Period. Because at the point where I'm going to downgrade what you implanted in my heart, says you're not God enough to feel that. Because we're downgrading it not because of our dependency on his ability. We're downgrading it on what we feel we have done wrong. So we've not applied grace. We're not even realizing that everything comes with a process. So we're like, it's me. Well, what's your focus on again? Who gave you the hope? So shouldn't you be redirecting that energy to the one who gave you the hope? Because he is incapable of failing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, let me give you the analogy. I successfully had one child. I have a 7-year-old son. I said, okay, I'm ready. You wanna know how long I've been trying to have another child? Yes.
3 years?
5 years.
Wow.
5 years. Was I told I was gonna have another child? Yes. Have I been told the sex of the second child? Yes. Has God shown the child to other people? Yes. How many rounds of failed fertility treatments did I have? 30. They said, you're the perfect candidate. You're young, this shouldn't be a problem. It's failing. We're not sure why. I adjusted my hope. I said, okay, I'm not gonna try that method anymore. I'm gonna go with the method my husband and I said we would never try because I've gotten frustrated with the process. And you're not God enough to do it this way because it's not happening. So I'm going to adjust the process. I'm going to adjust my hope. I'm going to do it a completely different way. And you know what God said? No, you're not. So the insurance that I had to adjust my hope, I lost within the week that I said I was going to change it and do it differently. I no longer had the insurance plan. Therefore, I could not adjust my hope. I had to revert back to the vision because he said, this shall be. So now I can talk about it and not have a whole emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
And be like, because I couldn't. And I had to do this in the public because there are a lot of people who know my story. So, you want to know how I resolved to? He has to have a reveal because he has to show people how God he is. I spoke this and I have given this vision to other people on your behalf. I've shown it to people they know, but want to know what helps is that we never stop expecting. See, when you never stop expecting, that means you never stop preparing for it.
Oh.
You never stop preparing for it because you know it's going to come. Not that I don't know when, but I know that it is. So I anchor my hope in what is, not when. but it is going to transpire. So I hope on the thing that is a fixed promise. And in my hope, I don't stop being the mother that I am to be to the blessing that he gave me. So that's part of the problem sometimes. We're hoping so much for the next thing that we stop being grateful for the thing he gave us.
Oh, yeah.
So why would he entrust us with more when our gratitude is out of order?
It's funny that you said that because I was literally about to talk about how you said that before you see a tree come up, the soil is working. But farmers have to, for a whole season sometimes, prepare the soil.
Prepare.
Before the seed is even dropped. So it's like, have you prepared your soil, your heart, your spirit, your mind for what seed is going to be dropped inside of you before anything ever cultivates?
Keep that in perspective. We've got to first prepare the soil. Then there's a planting.
Yeah.
Then there's a root system. There's
and the roots have to. But the roots have to take though.
Wait, before the root.
Because the roots can start
before
growing.
the root, the outer skin of the seed must die.
It has to fall off.
Have you died?
Have old habits if you died.
Have you yielded? Have you fully surrendered? So we want roots in a seed that's still harboring the external shell. The part of us that he's trying to prune, the part of us that he's trying to say, you can't take this into the next phase. This will cause your character to be assassinated if you take this. Actually, why don't you appreciate the fact that I'm doing this in the dark and can't nobody see and you can't see? Because I'm sparing you some embarrassment, some hardship. Because if I were to do this above soil, you might not recover. So why don't you let me do this in the dark place, in the obscurity, where it seems like you've been abandoned, you've actually been protected.
And then, so you said something, said if you were to do this above soil, then we wouldn't be protected. We would cause more attention to ourselves by doing that, because then you would be a freak of nature, because you wouldn't be acting as in the way that God created things to go in its principle and steps. So that means you would go out of order. And you would then become a freak of nature. And like when anything ever happens in nature and it's a freak of nature, it's all over the news.
All over. You'll be the spectacle.
You would be the spectacle. And then all of the attention would be on you. And it wouldn't be on the fact that God was able to manifest through your situation. And he wouldn't get the glory.
So is your hope deferred because the thing that you hope for is going to bring you glory instead of God glory? Are we omitting the process because we want glory that should actually be rendered upward? Like, let's just think about that. Like, for real. If we really just write out the hopes and the expectations, are these things going to bring God glory? Are they going to expand the kingdom? Or am I hoping for what I so desire, and it's not going to reach beyond my satisfaction?
Some of the things, honestly, that I hoped for were really just for me to be able to go, you thought. And of course, I feel like my story overall will be you thought, but it won't be me doing it. It'll be God going, you counted this one out too soon. But I wanted it to be in the place where I could go, I did this and you said this about me.
Yeah.
Which is pride, which is defense. And God is working on me so much about my pride. Like, I, the other day, had to send a text message to someone I was in the middle of my devotion, and God was like, go apologize. Now, is it a work in progress? Yes. But I had to apologize to them because I had hope and expectations for my relationship with them, but I had it on the contingency of how I wanted it, not how God wanted it to be manifested in my life. Because honestly, if I would have had it my way, the type of relationship that I would have had with this person, I still could have been able to hide who I was and the things that I was doing.
And that's not gonna work.
So can we talk about hope and love?
Yes. Let's talk about it. To talk about hope and love, we have to talk about the seed of hurt, right? And we start learning that at a very early age, right? And the hope and love is often tainted by rejection, and we start seeing that in grade school elementary. Oh, they didn't like me. They didn't pick me. I wasn't good enough. And so we start to build armor. Because to hope in love means I have to be vulnerable. And every instance I can recall about vulnerability has led me to be rejected. I don't want to do that anymore. But I love that God says that perfect love drives out all fear. Because the root of rejection is often fear. Because this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me. And I'm fearful and I don't want this to happen again, and so I don't want to love. But perfect love removes the stain of judgment on your heart. And when you first realize that you are loved, and in being loved you are fully known, then you start to love yourself. Because when he chooses to love all of me without reservation and still say, you are my beloved daughter, he knows all of it and says, and I called you and appointed you for this. And I'm madly in love with you. And you are fit for the call. And everything about you is perfect. And everything about you is intentional. And I love you just as you are. And then you recognize, and that truth takes root. And you're like, he loves me with an unfailing love. And then he starts pouring his love on you, and you start to love you. And you start to see yourself as capable and beautiful and established and set apart and chosen and worthy and chosen and altogether his. And you say, you know what? It's not pride. I just tapped into the truth of who he said I was. And I love God for that, because he's revealing himself and his attributes of himself to me. And it's making me fall in love all over again. And when we fall back in love with him and we allow his healing to really take place, we are able to freely give what he gave us. Right? And I can start loving. And I'm not minimizing anybody's past experiences, because we all have them. But when I fall in love again, my trust starts to expand, right? Because I've got to fall back in love with me, and I got to trust me, because I can only do for others what I've first been able to do with myself. So I start setting benchmarks so that I can rebuild my trust in myself and love myself, like for real. Like see all of me and say, I love you. One of the greatest tasks in telling somebody else you love them is being able to say it about yourself first. Because you can give them what you don't have.
I had made this statement to someone the other day, and it was a friend of mine. We were actually having like a real in-depth conversation, and he had made the statement. He was like, I can't. He was like, I don't believe in love. I don't believe in the concept of love. And I tabled it, and then we came back to that conversation, and I was like, it's going to be hard for someone to trust the fact that you love them, that you can give love, and you can't receive love, and you don't believe in the concept of love. And then he was like, maybe I just have the fear of the result of love, because I've tried so hard, and I can't see it anymore.
But was it love, or was it infatuation?
And he was even coming from the standpoint, though, from the relationship that he had with his mother.
Okay, so even in that, people can only love at the level of their conviction, okay? And it doesn't mean that they were incapable of expressing love, but they can only give out at the level that they have, right? And so sometimes this is why it's imperative that you look back to the one who is the author of love.
Yeah.
And remember what his display of love is, the ultimate sacrifice. He loved us enough to lay down his life and bear the sins that he is not even convicted of, but because he loved us that much. And so sometimes that's why we've got to point people back to the ultimate sacrifice, because people are people, they're imperfect, and they are filtering love through their experiences.
Yeah.
Right? But never stop hoping in love. And please remember that how you love is unique to you. See, sometimes we want to hope and love because we don't want to live up to somebody else's expectation of what that has to look like. And this is where we have real conversations about what love is for me.
I was about to say, how do you communicate first of all, how do you identify what love is for you? And then how do you communicate the type of how you see love? Because I know there's the 5 love languages.
Right.
And I think that's the perfect example of how we see love. And some people don't believe in it, but it's really perspective based.
It is. And if you don't have access to that resource, go back to the memories that you have about when you felt loved. And think about the scenario that was surrounding that. Oh, I felt loved when my mom would make it to all my recitals. I felt loved when me and my mom would sit down on the couch and watch movies. So what is it? I value companionship. I like to be in the company of the people that I do life with. That's how I express love.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Or I like, me and my family, we bond by doing X. This is how we express. And those are the things that you can't negate, because when they don't happen, then you don't feel loved. So you have to be honest about how love translates in your world. And be honest with the people that you do life with, so that you guys can then come to a place where how you express and how I express are complementing one another, so that the other person never feels slighted. The other person doesn't feel like I pour but I never get.
Yeah.
Or I love but you like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if somebody's like, I'm meeting you in your way, but you are leaving me over here just high and dry.
Which goes back to identifying where you are. So I think like the key points that we have started to get tonight are identifying first whose you are, who you are, where you are, where you want to go. There's like 3 steps before you even start creating the vision for hope.
Go back to the foundation.
Man.
But how beautiful it is to be able to have some applicable principles to go back to say, okay, you know what? I started on the 4th step and I got to go back 3. But I'm worth it. I'm worth taking 3 steps back to get to where I got to go. Ooh.
I love that.
You are worth it. Because the 3 steps back put you back on track. Because you're 3 steps off course anyway. So don't take it as a loss. Take it as 3 steps back to get on track to where I'm actually supposed to be going. I don't want to keep venturing in the way that's off track for me. I love me enough, and I am fully known and fully loved, fully accepted. And I'm worth the 3 steps back to get back on track. I'm worth it. And I don't have to explain it to anybody to get their buy-in and their insight, because at the end of the day, the only person who's going to be left to live with the regrets of my failed attempts is me. Nobody has to bear that load. And I want to insert this here because I want people to stop feeling like they owe explanations to the people that they're not purposed to do life with anyway. Like that proving, that will to prove this thing, that I have to prove this to you. No, because the people that you are purposed to be on this journey with understand that sometimes we've got to go back to the start line. And because I'm purposed to do this with you, I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk back through with you as well, because I believe that when we get back on track, we're going to go further than we were initially anyway, because now we're going in the right way, and I love you enough that I'm willing to take this journey with you.
It's like a slingshot. You have to pull it back.
Pull it back. And it goes how much further than it started?
Way further.
Way further. Take this 3 steps back, guys. I was in a training session today, and it was about suicide. And it's the 2nd leading cause of death on college campuses. It costs about $67 billion in economic spend annually in the United States. And they talked about the scenario of the people who were jumping off of the bridge in California. And it had a 98% success rate. But there were some survivors, and they interviewed those survivors. And they asked them, why did you do it and what was going through your mind? And they said, I had lost all my hope. I had no reason to live. I was under so much pain. I had been under prolonged stress, and I wasn't thinking about anybody else. It had nothing to do with anybody else. It was just that I no longer felt worthy. But on the way to their demise, they said, but I don't want to go out like this. And although that may not be where you are naturally, that may be where your hope is. It's jumped off and it's on its way down. And now you're like, I don't want to go out like this. And I'm so grateful that there's a God that says, and you won't. But I will restore you. And the restored version is always stronger than the initial. And the restored version always includes the broken pieces. The Japanese proverbs, when there's a broken bowl, they fill the cracks with gold. And he's filling your cracks with gold. Because the gold is what's been refined. It's the gold that goes in the fire, right? It's the gold that's been refined. It's the gold that's been proven to be the glue that will sustain. And he's pouring his gold over your broken pieces, because you're not meant to be in pieces. You're meant to be whole. And I want the gold to represent his spirit that's being infused in the cracks of your life. And he's saying, I am your hope. I am your joy. I am your redemption. And everything that you need is wrapped up in all that I already am. And as we bring this to a close, I want to pray. And my prayer is simply that, God, you would be our hoping mechanism. That you would be the glue that pieces us back together. That you will be the God of our salvation. That our joy and our salvation will be revitalized. God, I thank you that you are giving the visions back to those who have cast them away because they become their nightmares and their torments. I thank you that they are looking at their hope through a fresh perspective. I thank you that they are brave enough to take the 3 steps back, to get back on track so that they can go in the direction that you have originally intended. God, these are your people, and their hope is anchored in you. And God, you said that your children would not be put to shame. So God, I thank you that every area of shame that you are concealing, that you are closing the books on their shame, and you are presenting before the people someone who has been made whole. And when the people look at them, they don't see them, but they see you radiating through them. God, you are the radiant. You are the glow. You are the reason they have a newfound hope and an expectation. God, you are worthy. Because you're worthy, we can go on. Because you never fail, we can hope again. Because your love is perfect, we can love again. Because your plans never fail, we will pursue. Because you alone are worthy. And God, we love you and we appreciate you. And we thank you in advance for the testimonies that shall come forth, for those who have reignited their hope and their expectation. Because you're capable and you're doing it, and you're doing it now. We love you for it, Jesus. Thank you so much. Amen. Amen. So tonight, your journal prompt, what are you hoping for? What are you hoping for? And go back and talk about those steps. And how is that hope going to manifest? Talk about it, be real. Get naked before yourself. Really, look at you. Look at you. And then remember who you are and whose you are. And remember that the God who began a good work in you, he is faithful to complete it unto the day of Jesus Christ. Not you. He is faithful. So therefore we can hope and rest our expectations in him. I hope tonight worked. I hope something was said. We love y'all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks, Shar.
She got me to stay after
I got her to stay after work. And she had such a great chat, don't you think?
I had an amazing time.
It was great. Okay, bye guys. Thank you.